In Rio de Janeiro's Lapa district, the narrow alleys and graffiti-covered walls are the district's signature. It's a gathering place for drug dealers, gangs, and the poor. By day, it's bustling, but at night, the silence feels chilling. Carlos Pereira, a private detective and former cop, had been forced to leave the police after exposing corruption in the upper ranks. For years, he had been surviving on small cases, just barely getting by. But on this quiet night, an unexpected phone call disrupted his life. "Carlos, it's me, Lucas," came the tense voice of his old friend. Maria's been missing for 3 days now." Carlos frowned. Maria was Lucas's wife, a doctor in Lapa who often helped people in the slums. "Did you call the police?" he asked. "The police don't care about this," Lucas said, his voice full of hopelessness. "You're my only hope." Carlos knew Lucas was right. In a place like this, disappearances happened all the time, and the police wouldn't bother investigating, especially not for someone living in the slums. Carlos decided to take on the case himself. The next day, Carlos went to Lucas's home. The small apartment looked ordinary, with nothing out of place except for the heavy tension in the air. Maria's picture hung on the wall, but something felt strange. As Carlos searched the apartment, he found a notebook Maria had left behind. It was filled with the names of patients from the slums, people she had treated. "She said she was going to help a patient," Lucas said helplessly, "and she never came back." Carlos decided to start his investigation by following these patients' stories. As he dug deeper, a disturbing pattern emerged. These patients were either chronically ill and had gone from place to place seeking treatment, or their bodies mysteriously vanished after they died. Maria's disappearance, Carlos suspected, might be connected to a larger secret network. Carlos contacted his former colleague, Victor Rodriguez, now a freelance mercenary. Victor had once been involved with gangs in the Lapa district. He told Carlos that Lapa was home to a secret black market. The rumors claimed that not only drugs and organs were traded there, but also souls and deadly curses. "Be careful," Victor whispered. "This isn't an ordinary criminal group. They use bodies for dark rituals to gain some kind of supernatural power." At first, Carlos didn't believe these wild stories about soul trading, but the more he uncovered, the more horrifying the evidence became. The bodies weren't just disappearing, they were being used in some sort of evil ritual. Eventually, Victor helped Carlos track down the location of the underground market. It was hidden in an abandoned metro station, deep beneath the city. The market was no ordinary black market. The walls were covered with strange symbols, and eerie items were displayed on the floor. The people here weren't just buying and selling. They were part of something far more sinister. "These people, they don't care about bodies," Victor murmured. "They want souls." Carlos looked around and suddenly spotted a familiar face. Maria. She stood tied up in the corner of the room, next to a man who seemed to be controlling the entire market. Eliot da Silva. Eliot was the mastermind behind the operations in Lapa. On the surface, he appeared to be a philanthropist, but in reality, he controlled the city's underground market of bodies and souls. His goal wasn't just wealth. It was said that he used dark rituals to gain control over the souls of the dead, to extend his life and strengthen his powers. Carlos was horrified as he saw Eliot controlling the dead with ancient spells. The bodies were soulless, turned into walking corpses. "They trap souls in containers," Victor explained. "They trade them or use them to extend their lives." Maria was next. Eliot was planning to use her soul in a ritual to further his immortality. The soul crystal. Eliot used a pitch-black crystal to store souls. The crystal glowed with an eerie red light as the souls trapped inside screamed in agony. Each new soul made Eliot stronger. The souls weren't just for trading. They could also be used in rituals to curse people or extend a buyer's life. The control spell. Eliot controlled the souls using an ancient spell. Once a soul was absorbed into the crystal, Eliot could manipulate it at will, even using it to command the walking corpses. The ritual usually took place in the center of the market, where Eliot stood before a stone altar carved with ancient symbols. As he chanted, the air grew colder, and the soul crystal shone brighter. The souls inside writhed in pain, their wails echoing through the market, a truly terrifying sight. Carlos and Victor decided to rescue Maria. But just as they began their move, things went horribly wrong. Eliot had seen them coming and greeted them with a mocking smile. "You really thought you could stop my plan?" he sneered. Carlos tried to reach Maria, but then she whispered, "Carlos, why did you come here?" Carlos froze. Maria's eyes were empty, her voice hollow. She no longer seemed like the woman he knew. Then Eliot revealed the dreadful truth. Maria is no longer herself. Her soul has been part of my plan for a long time. Maria hadn't disappeared. She had been turned into Eliot's pawn, controlled by him from the start, leading Carlos straight into a trap. Carlos was devastated as he looked at Maria, filled with anger and grief. But he knew this wasn't the time to dwell on emotions. He had to escape. Eliot laughed coldly as he ordered his walking corpses to attack. Victor realized they couldn't win in a direct fight, so he decided to destroy the soul crystal. Grabbing a hammer, Victor charged at the crystal and smashed it. Cracks spread across its surface, and the trapped souls broke free. The souls, filled with rage and pain, began to attack everyone around them. The entire underground market descended into chaos. As the souls ran wild, Victor knew there was no way to regain control. He used his last ounce of strength to set explosives around the pillars of the metro station, causing part of the tunnels to collapse. Carlos escaped in the chaos, but Victor was buried under the rubble, sacrificing himself. Carlos ran through the madness, dodging the wild souls as they tore through the market like beasts. The scene was like something out of hell. Eliot's body began to crack under the backlash from the souls, unable to handle the overwhelming energy. His body was torn apart, and the soul crystal shattered along with the altar. Carlos finally escaped the market, bloodied and traumatized, and fled Lapa. As Carlos reflected on everything that had happened, a deep sense of helplessness filled him. He knew that even if he exposed the truth, nothing would change. The corruption in Lapa ran too deep. More people like Eliot would rise to control the black market, fueled by their insatiable greed. The call of evil, forever beckoning to the souls of chaos, would never cease.